Hi, my lovely friends. Different background this time. I recently went back to China to catch the tail of New Year. It's a great time to take a break, have a couple of days off from work, and spend time with my family. But yeah, I still want to make this video because I know these days we've heard a lot of anxious voices. AI is taking over. AI is replacing us. Developers are cooked. But the purpose of this channel is not to spread anxiety and fear, but to use my own experience to provide you guys with confidence, hope, direction, and future view. In the meantime, I also record myself growth in learning new skills, adapting to new technology. As stressed by the title, today I want to share some skills that are becoming increasingly essential in the era of AI, or skills that are evergreen, no matter you live on the Earth or Jupiter in the era of AI or Industrial Revolution. But first, let's throw our mind back to computer age. Skills matter at the time were like programming, software development, right? It was a golden time when software developers had a lot of privileges over other titles. Then data-related jobs emerged, like data analyst, data scientist, data engineers, etc. Until today, they are still well paid. Take a random European country as an example. An entry-level data scientist in Netherlands still earns between 40,000 to 50,000 euros per year. Digital nomads across the world still predominantly consist of software developers, web developers, SaaS professionals. It happened because, back then the demand was way over the supply. But I kind of feel this is no longer the case because AI has significantly altered the big picture. Nowadays we get agentic AI coding editors like Cloud Code and Cursor AI. We're entering the age where everyone can create software products. There's going to be a big shift in demand and supply. Maybe in the future we'll be called something like AI builders, and that's why I think traditional developer roles are losing their competitiveness. Look, I'm not saying they will be replaced by AI, and I actually don't believe it. But what's happening right now is that AI automation is eating lots of entry-level jobs. Time is changing, valuable skill sets are changing as well. Look, I'm not gonna tell you some cliche about cross-team communication, learning AI skills to replace people living in the last world. I mean, sure, everyone knows it, right? I think the first skill that matters increasingly is discovering people's needs. And let me tell you the reason. Before AI was a thing, we spent, substantial amounts of time thinking about how to build things. We drowned in detail and we got overwhelmed by tricky tasks. Just think about myself at work. I used to search lots of documentations and read things line by line just to map some, business logic from one data set to another. I manually wrote Python functions, considered edge cases, and if the function was robust enough. These kind of things add lots of my working hours, and maybe in the next day, my stakeholders changed their mind. And I had to knock things down and rebuild everything from scratch. But things are completely different with AI tools. They do heavy lifting for me at work every day. It has freed a large part of my mental space from manual work. So I feel it's quite natural for us to shift our attention from how to do things to why we need to do things. We no longer pay attention to how to make pivot tables to highlight business performance for this quarter, but things like who are we serving, what problems do they have, what's the best solution to this problem, what's the best from a product or service. In other words, I kind of feel we're targeting people's needs or pain points. With that in mind, I feel AI is like our leverage that helps us build things 10 times faster and make the product more scalable. I have a real life example to share. So just a couple of months ago, I found a new Chinese restaurant downstairs in my office building. It turned out that the owner and I are from the same place. So we quickly picked up a conversation. When talking about his restaurant business, he kind of complained to me that there are not so many delivery guys in Warsaw, and the average delivery time is like 1 hour or sometimes even 2 hours during winter. It's disaster if some customers order Chinese noodle. Noodle will turn cold and absorb water over time. It'll become barely edible. And this guy told me that they provide delivery service through third-party apps like Uber Eats. Actually, what I was thinking is maybe I can use agentic AI to build a website for this restaurant to circumvent the third party so that delivery guys can contact the restaurant directly and their rates per order won't take haircut by third party apps. I think they'll have more motivation to speed up the delivery and maybe develop loyalty for this restaurant. So at the end of the day, the restaurant is happy, delivery guys are happy, customers are happy. That would be perfect. But idea is just idea. No matter how brilliant it is, You won't provide any value if you don't make it happen, right? And that's why I'm gonna tell you about the second skill. Take initiative and push things forward. It's you who are gonna vibe code the product. AI won't help you find relevant stakeholders, present your final product, get recognition, make your product go live. Humans still do all of this. To give you an example, as data engineer working for a bank, I build Python-based pipelines to automate regulatory metrics calculation. Normally, without AI's workflow is like this. I build code base, pipelines, architecture, whatever. Then get a request from stakeholders. Then a data analyst from my team runs a pipeline in the back end and share the output to stakeholders. And recently at work, I upgraded this process through agentic AI. I keep these Python scripts running in the back end. Then I use GitHub Copilot to fetch a GUI as front end. So this tool becomes software where everyone in my company can click and get output they want without looking at ugly back end code and without relying on the data analyst who's like an intermediary, right? But the tool can't just run on my local machine, and I must tell this idea to my manager, raise a request, get approval for an internal server to host it. I know it's a bit bureaucratic, it's what it is in big companies, but the point is that you need to take ownership, materialize your idea, and create visibility for it. Otherwise, your idea would just, get stuck on your brain or your local machine. The next skill is question framing. What does it mean? Well, from my perspective, it means that you can pinpoint the most valuable information, detect the root cause, set the most relevant objectives in the middle of chaos and noise. I think that's prerequisite proving you can ask the right question. AI can only give you correct answers if your questions are well defined. I can still recall in the first year of my master's study, I made a team project with a couple of others for marketing management class. The point was to create a new product line for existing company and made marketing strategies for it. We chose H&M. We wanted to create a product line that allows customers to do brainstorming, create their own design so that they can have a full control over what they can buy. We wanted to create some kind of design competition, pick the top tier designs, then promote these products as well as stories behind them. Back then, we didn't have any tool, but today, this is a question I can ask. What I get from it is something like a clarified strategic positioning, STP plus 4P. Nothing wrong with that, but it still doesn't catch the point because let's think about it. Why do customers come to us to make DIY clothes? Isn't that easier for them to check some random online shops and order one? I think the main point is that we are creating a community to gather like-minded people, a platform where customers can do something that they may never think of before, something that they don't have enough resources to do. So they can freely express their ideas, tell their unheard stories in the language of design. After fixing the prompt, the answer immediately becomes much more relevant, and we can see keywords like launch an online design platform, public voting, brand building with customer storytelling marketing. You see the difference, then you understand the power of question framing. So next time, if you think AI is dumb, perhaps AI thinks you are weird. Next skill, communication. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but let me explain to you. Does it mean getting your ideas across? It's very important, but more than that. In the context of a company, that means you can be the bridge between tech and the business teams. You understand what they are talking about without language barrier. Based on my experience in many real-life examples, there's always a hard communication between them. Developers usually don't have strong domain knowledge and explain things with technical terms. Business teams have no clue how to interpret these words in business sense. It may turn out to be like a cross-species communication. It's very funny because there's a Chinese phrase called 鸡同鸭讲, which translates to a chicken talking to a duck. Both sides get very confused. I have one Chinese colleague from business team, another colleague who's like a data scientist. Once my Chinese colleague said a meeting with her trying to understand the business intuition behind some kind of a financial model, but she kind of explained with a bunch of technical words like a confidence intervals, rolling average, significant levels. Then my Chinese colleagues told me that after the meeting, she not only didn't figure it out, but also got more confused. So I think it will be very valuable assets if you can see somewhere in between. You have a development experience, you can translate business needs into technical language. You know if something can be done and to what extent something can be done. You can explain something very technical in plain language with examples, analogies, so that everyone can get the idea. Last but not least, one more important skill is having good taste and judgment. AI gives you multiple solutions, but it's you who decide which one is going to work out, which one is bad answer. That requires you to have a lot of experience in your domain so that you form a good intuition. You can see things around the corner and preempt the problems before they show up. In fact, I'm talking about this skill because I got inspiration from Jensen Huang.
I think long term, the definition of smart, and my personal definition of smart is someone who sits at that intersection of being technically astute, but human empathy and understand and having the ability to infer the unspoken, the around the corners, the unknowables. People who are able to see around corners are truly smart, and their value is incredible. To be able to preempt problems before they show up, just because you feel the vibe, and the vibe came from a combination of data analysis, first principle, life experience, wisdom, sensing other people. That vibe, that I think, that's smart. That I think is going to be the future definition of smart. And that person might actually score horribly on the SAT.
Right.
And so
We will see each other in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye.